Hello, welcome back to my channel. It is the 4th of June, Thursday, and on Thursdays I turn my compost. I test the temperature, and if the temperature is where I'd like it to be, then I don't turn it until maybe Monday. If the temperature is higher or lower than I need it to be, then I will go ahead and turn it. The reason why I turn it when it is hot, if the temperature is too high, is because if the temperature is too high, it can kill the microbes excuse me, that is in the compost, and I don't want that to happen. So I am shifting out the material from this bin and I am loading it into that bin, and then the material around there used to be in this bin. It will be transferred over into this bin. I have already turned the material in the bin that you see over there in the corner, and then there is some beside that white drum that I haven't touched in maybe 2 weeks, so I will have to sort that out too. The compost is looking fine. I am expecting all of these to be composted within the next 4 weeks, if all goes well. And so I'm going to be sifting the castings at that time. Whatever is not finished, I will use it to create 1 or 2 compost bins, and then I'll have the other 2 with the finished castings that is going to be used to feed my worm. However, when I first bought my worms, this bin that you see over here was my first compost outdoors bin, and the vast majority of the pound of worm that I bought went into that bin. And within 2.5 months, that was the 26th of June that I bought those worms, and by the second week in September I had to harvest because the temperature had gotten low, and worms slow down when temperature goes down to -5, and we were pretty close to -5 in September. So I harvested the content of that worm bin, and I had nearly 20 times the amount of worms that I bought. I have never had that level of increase after, nowhere even close. And so I have decided that this year, as soon as I harvest the content of that bin, I am going to put a pound of worm in it, and I'm going to see if I can duplicate that situation. Okay, and I'm going to be putting worms in, maybe this bin here is used for finished compost, so that is going to be left alone for feeding the worms. But as you can see, there are a few holes in there, so I imagine that worms are going to be traveling from there into my finished compost over here. But anyway, I'm not going to put worms in this, but I'm going to be putting a pound of worm in that one to see if I can duplicate the situation that I had 2 years ago. And those 2 will be left for any material that has not been composted yet. Okay, so stay tuned, and I will give you an update when, at the end of the month, when I'm sifting out that compost and putting the worms in. So I have finished transferring the compost, finished turning them. So now I'm just watering them down. This bin, when it was over in the other one there, had cooled off. First time since I've created that bin this year that I've seen it cooled off. So this bin is pretty cool, so now with the water it will start eating up again. But that bin over there, when it was still in here, still had very high temperature. So even after turning it, the temperature in it is at 110. So I'm going to water that one down too, and the other one that is over there. But that one there beside the drum, I have not turned it because I am exhausted after turning 3 bins. So I'm going to move on to something else. I'm just going to water it down so that at least it is not dry. The temperature in it is still good, so that's not bad. I'm just going to water it down. So that is the update on this aspect of the video. The next part of it I'll be showing you a month from now, when I sick the castings and had the worms into the rest of the bin. Okay, so I just test the temperature in this in this compost bin. I turned it yesterday. It is not heating up to where it normally would. The other bins are like 130, 120. This one is barely at 100, so I'm wondering if it has reached the maximum that it can. Maybe it has fully exhausted the eating process. So I've decided that I am going to add some worms to it. So I just emptied a container in here that has mostly hatchlings, like thousands of hatchlings and eggs. There are a few adult ones in here, and I'm just gonna let those adult ones stay. And then on this piece of cardboard, can you see them? All those hatchlings. So I'm going to bury this underneath the material. Here's another piece of cardboard. With really tiny hatchlings. I think I'm zooming in too close. But as you can see, the worms have already started burying themselves in the cardboard. So I'm just going to cover these up. I've got quite a few ants in there as well, but I don't mind that, since this is a compost bin and not really a worm bin. And as someone commented on one of my videos that the ants need to live too. I agree. So I'm just gonna cover this up, and the reason I am covering up these cardboards and stuff is because of the amount of birds that I have in my yard. And these birds have taken a liking to my compost pile. They have been trying their very best to eat the worms out of the worm tray that I have, trying to get the worms to go down by the light process. The birds have been going there trying to eat the worms out of it. So I am covering this up so that these guys won't get too much of my worms. Hopefully the bin doesn't decide to start eating up all of a sudden, although they can always move to the outer edges, but then the eggs might be in trouble. But eggs are on top, so that should not be too bad, because once it is on top, the very top does not get too hot. If the bin decide to eat up the worms, move to the side, they'll be cool there. So I'm going to be wetting down that bin once per week, like really soaking it down, because that's what the lady did when I bought the worms from her. She put so much water in there. So we'll see how that turn out. And on this is the box that I have the castings that I'm trying to separate in, but because the birds are trying to get it, so I have the mesh over it, so I'll be picking the material out from there. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, please don't forget to share it with your friends, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't yet done so, and don't forget to turn on your notification button, and have yourself a wonderful day.